Seated in heavenly places. Hello, everybody. I'm Parker Pruitt, and thank you for joining me on the Inseparable Podcast. Well, hey guys, thanks for joining me once again. This past Sunday at church, my pastor preached out of the book of Matthew, chapter 23. And I found this very coincidental because that's where I was at in my daily reading. I try to read every single day. Doesn't always happen, but I call it my daily reading, but it doesn't always get done. But in any case, I was in Matthew 23 when he preached that message, so I thought that was kind of funny. And this theme kind of kept sticking out to me when he was speaking, and it kind of stuck with me every day this week so far. So I'd like to share a couple thoughts and just kind of give you a glimpse into what I've been meditating on this week. So I'm going to start by just reading a few verses in Matthew chapter 23. We'll start in verse 1 and go down to verse 6. So it says, Then Jesus said to the crowds and his disciples, The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for people to see. They make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. In other words, they're boasting about their faith. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. And that last verse there, verse 6, is what I kind of want to hone in on. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They want people to bow down and worship them instead of pointing everybody to Christ, and pointing everybody to the one true God. They want people to glorify them, and that's where you get into a sticky situation there. We jump down to verse 12. This kind of goes along with it. Matthew 23:12 says, For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So Jesus is drawing a stark contrast between those who will be humbled and those who are humble, and what their destiny is really. And I believe this is all tied into a previous chapter in Matthew chapter 20, and specifically one verse 16, where it says, The last will be first, and the first will be last. I always wondered what that meant, what Jesus meant by that. But as I grow older, I kind of understand that more and more each day. The first will be last. The first in that case is the privileged, the arrogant, the egotistical people of the world, the people in high places that think, that they're just super prideful. They think they're a god, and those are the people who will be humbled. The last, in Jesus' example, are the humble, the meek, the poor in spirit, the blessed people in Jesus's Sermon on the Mount. And I'm sure you can all think of people who are both the former and the latter, the people who think, they're very prideful, they're egotistical, they're the Pharisees of this day, they're just perfect. Everything they do is perfect. They walk on streets of gold already, and they're just, everything they do is right, and they're never wrong. And, they're just arrogant, they're not humble. And you all know those people, right? Hopefully you're not one of them. If you are, humble yourself. And then I'm sure you can all think of, some meek people, some humble people, some people that put themselves last. And that's what I want us to focus on, to strive for. You want to humble yourself here on earth because there will be a prize at the end of your life. There's a prize in heaven for you. And God actually reveals that prize to us here in this life too at times. If we can constantly put ourselves last, put others first, we are fulfilled. We are fulfilled inside. We have joy and peace inside that other people might not have. The first, the people who enjoy the pleasantries of life and uh, the best seats in the house, and they got all the money, they got all the possessions, they get everything they could ever ask for, but they don't have joy. Suicide rates are highest amongst people, to my knowledge, of the people with the most money. The wealthy population are the ones who actually commit the most amounts of suicide. So it's not a matter of money and wealth that brings happiness and joy. It's a matter of is being in Christ, being seated in heavenly places, which is in Christ. So, my point is, if we are humble here on earth, in heaven, that's where our prize is. That's where we will be, glorified and seated at the best seats in the house, kind of thing. So like, take the back seat for now. Take the back seat and be the ground troop, and get your hands dirty here on the earth. Be God's hands and feet, and then the people who are not God's hands and feet, the people who are just sucking the life out of the world, and who are enjoying every prized possession you can think of. They got all the wealth in the world. They got all the cars, the houses, the power, everything. That's okay. That's just temporal. They can enjoy that now, but it won't last. What lasts is what lies within your heart. And that's my point in this video. I want to give you a quick example as well. And that was when I'm going to probably get in trouble for this one, because I don't like bringing politics into any teaching, any Bible teaching, any, in church, or even in this podcast. And this will be the first and hopefully the last, no pun intended, time that I do this. But I was watching a video of, I'm sure you guys know who Chris Cuomo is. He used to be part of CNN, the news outlet. And, regardless what you think of CNN, Chris Cuomo, the Democratic Party, or whatever, just lay that aside. This is just an example, okay? Chris Cuomo put out a video that, he was at the DNC. He was at the DNC convention in Chicago just a week or two ago. And he showed this camera pan. He's like, I'm here at the lower level with other media personnel and just the everyday people, but I want you to look up here in the rafters, and he kind of showed his camera up at the top of the building. And it's almost like what I thought of. It's where the highest seats in the house were. It's where the best seats in the house, the Moses seats. Like, this is where the Pharisees would sit if they were here today. Like, and he was like, those suites start at $500,000 a night, I think. And so it's got me thinking. I'm like, my goodness, like, that is the connection here. Like, that is a representation of what exactly Jesus is warning us about. Don't be like those people. Don't be the Pharisees. Don't be the ones who just gotta have everything and be in the best seats in the house every single time, and just have it all already. Be humble. Get on the ground with your neighbor. Love on your neighbors. Don't be better than them. Don't be looking down on them. And that's just kind of what I thought of when I saw that video. I'm not endorsing anybody or anything like that, so don't worry. I keep my political opinions to myself, but I just thought that was really interesting when he said that. I'm like, this is a perfect example of the first shall be last and the last shall be first. The first are way up there right now, but eventually they're going to be last in the kingdom, or least in the kingdom. And the ones on the ground are the last right now. They're the peasants, if you will. They're the ones that are just, they're just there, and just observing whatever. And those people in this example, maybe not those specific people, but um, those people will eventually be put first. The humble, the meek, the powerless um, will eventually be first in the kingdom, or greatest in the kingdom of heaven. I want to close with another few verses, and this comes out of Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. And this is Paul speaking here. I want to kind of close out about this heavenly place I keep speaking of. Where is this heavenly place at? Where can we find it? And Paul kind of addresses it in the first 10 verses of chapter 2 of Ephesians. He says, "And you were dead in trespasses and sins, in which you once walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience, among whom we all once lived in the passions of our flesh, carrying out the desires of the body and the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, like the rest of mankind. But God, being rich in mercy, because of the great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved, and raised us up with him, and seated us with him," that's Jesus, "in heavenly places in Christ Jesus, so that in the coming ages he might show the immeasurable riches of his grace and kindness toward us in Christ Jesus. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand, that we should walk in them." So, where are these heavenly places? It's not somewhere in outer space like we like to think about sometimes. We think of the heavenly places, we think of just beyond our earth, in the sky somewhere. Though it can include that place, it's not only there, it's right here. It starts within you, and it's in Christ that our heavenly place is found. That's where we need to be seated, is with Christ. Look no further than Jesus Christ for your heavenly seat at God's table. Humble yourself. Don't think too highly of yourself. Be meek, be genuine, and you will be first in the end. Thank you, and God bless you.